I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
And you got what you wanted. Girls were girls and men were men. Brother, we could use a man like Herbert Hoover again.
This episode is made possible by our therapy partners, Dirty B and Pickett.
Nick will not abide you singing about Herbert Hoover.
How dare you?
This is Pod Therapy. I remember there was a day when we tried to keep this like, hey, Nick, don't eat on the show. That's really annoying.
That was annoying.
And meanwhile, he talks over the entire thing.
Yeah, fuck
This
that.
is Pod Therapy.
We're in the 300s, bro. Nobody gives a shit anymore. If they're here, they know what they're into.
Real people, real questions, real therapists.
Thank you.
Forget it.
PodTherapy.net. Do the things.
So upset. You know, I think you need some therapy. Whitney, can you calm him down? Jesus.
Nick, please calm down. Pew, pew, Texas.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are unsupervised. Patreon.com/therapy.
That's right.
You can hear a very robust conversation about shit that I don't remember anymore. But
Well,
I remember it being really good.
It wasn't.
The heat is bad. It's hot.
There was no structure to that Patreon. We talked about everything.
It's old
with
school.
no natural segue.
It's classic Pod Therapy before Whitney showed up.
It was only natural
fucking
segues.
hung her potpourri everywhere and started washing
Litter
shit.
candles.
Yeah, fucking lavender.
Yeah.
Remember when we were
Had clean
dudes?
laundry.
Remember we were just dudes?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, back in the day, you know?
That's right.
Today we talked about cooking meat.
That's right.
You know? Yeah.
No, Whitney.
Driving boats and shit.
That's right.
And surviving the heat like cavemen.
Now we're just here and we're lousy with Vagisil.
You know,
Just
she made
all
us
over
soft.
the place.
She made us soft.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about feelings and shit. I guess we kind of always did that, though.
That's true.
It's kind of a therapy show, but whatever. Whitney's not here today, but we'll make it work.
Did anybody write in
Questions?
with questions?
Yeah, we have questions.
Oh, neat.
Are you
We should
trying to
get to
help me?
those. Yeah, I'm trying to segue to the
buddy.
question.
Yeah, well, you distracted me. All right, we got some great questions for today's show. The first one, becoming a therapy accountability buddy from our therapy partner, Pickett. Hey, guys.
If you ever think about being a therapy partner, get you to the front of the line with the questions.
Always front of the line.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, they have the direct bat signal. They always get what they want.
You write a letter, it goes on the show.
Top shelf. Hey guys, I'm still working on the backlog very slowly. I'm on episode 140 now.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's funny because Pickett will be in the Discord, and then Pickett just recently hit the COVID episodes, and so messaged or didn't message me, but posted it onto I have a channel in the Discord. And was like, hey, Jim, whatever happened to all the COVID masks that people sent you? Like, that had dicks all over them? Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
I think it was Brandmeier who sent us a bunch of dick masks. It's like, oh, yeah, I wore those for a little while. Then eventually, all masks expired. Except for Nick's, because he wore one for all of COVID.
You wore a T-shirt on your face. Settle down.
I did. Yeah. Touche. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm still working on the backlog very slowly. I'm on episode 140 now. So I'm not sure if this kind of situation or question has been presented before, but I have a real life situation that I'm going through and thought it might be a good one for the show. We have a friend that we have been trying to get to go to therapy for a long time. He has a tendency to put way too much weight on how people perceive him, to the point where I was worried about his safety because he had convinced himself that his best friend hated his guts, and therefore he's just a piece of garbage person and doesn't have any friends anyway, and he'll never have a significant other because he's just such garbage. And basically said that he didn't see the point of living anymore. He'll spiral like that for a while. And during that time, he'll be quick to anger, constantly bugging his friends for validation and confirmation that they're still friends with him, and other kinds of defense and coping mechanisms. Context out of the way, he's not able to afford therapy, so we're kind of sponsoring him, aka paying for the sessions, so that he's able to get the process going and focus on the therapy without having to worry about the price tag. We know that he has trouble keeping to a new habit, especially one that's going to make him feel so vulnerable, and wanted to see how bad it would be to ask the therapist to be included in the first session to help him set goals, and then to see if the therapist is willing to give regular updates that would really just be if he's attending the sessions regularly or not. I know that's a lot, and feel free to just email me back or DM me on the Discord. That also works if this has already been covered or if it's too much for the show. Thanks, guys. Looking forward to getting caught up. LMAO, Pickett. Pickett.
Okay. Well, first off, that's very kind of you to do that.
Yes.
for a
Oh,
friend.
fucking yes. Human of the year.
I mean,
sponsoring your friend.
Most people would, going through that, they would probably just say like, God, this is a lot. I don't want to deal with this right
Yeah.
now. And they would just kind of check out.
Yeah.
So the fact that you all are willing to, sponsor him and pay his way through this,
Super kind.
I hope he sees that. And I hope he recognizes, the effort that you all are putting through that.
And probably can't, because right now he's in the grip of what sounds like depression and a lot of self-hatred spirals. And people that are going through that are often irritable, especially if they are, kind of male. A male symptom of depression is often irritability and anger. And so if your friend lacks gratitude, just know that Nick and I and Jacob, who is no longer with us, God rest his soul, we at least admire you.
Yeah. Jacob went to use the restroom.
He's dead. Jacob's dead now.
Okay, so you want to be involved in his therapy. So it kind of sounds like this hasn't actually started yet.
Right.
Because you said you want to be involved in the first session. I think that's kind of up to him. I mean, if that's something that, I guess first I would kind of want you to clarify kind of what you hope to get out of that. If it is just, getting regular updates as far as attendance, yeah, I think that's fair given that you're paying for them.
I agree.
And I don't think that's too much to offer or too much to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he goes there, he would still have to, if the therapist is going to be giving you any information, he'd still have to sign a release of information.
Yeah.
So that the therapist can communicate this information to you,
Yeah.
even if you are paying for it.
Correct.
That's probably still going to have to happen.
Well, you'd also get receipts. And like sometimes that is your best attendance record, is the therapist is billing you. And so it will say this is for a no-show session or a cancel session or a session on this date. And sometimes that's your attendance record right there. If you have a credit card on file and you're going to get the receipt.
Even then, I'm wondering if there would still have to be a release of information for that.
I mean, if somebody else is putting the card on file, fundamentally, the way I run my practice, I've had situations where somebody has reached out and said, hey, this is my family member. I will be paying for them. And I'll say, that's fine. Let's go ahead and get a card on file and all that stuff. And then whenever the family member shows up and I do the intake, I'll say, hey, are you aware that so-and-so has offered to finance you? And they'll be like, yeah, of course, I'm aware. That's why I'm here. Great. And then I'll let them know the way my system works is the other person's card is going to get popped. They will see that charge. So you need to be aware that they are going to have an idea of when your sessions are and, that you attended them. Like that is not going to be secret because a transaction has occurred. And, I clarify it with the person, but yeah, I mean,
is that something that legally they have to sign off on?
That's the question we're opening. Yeah.
So technically, information is kind of protected via HIPAA, but HIPAA is really more designed for insurance.
HIPAA has an exception for financiers. If there's third-party payers, so like if you have an EAP, an insurance, or a nonprofit body or something that is covering your cost, like victims of crime in Las Vegas, you don't need an ROI for victims of crime.
What's
you
an
just
ROI?
build it. Release of information.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't need the legal release. And HIPAA has a caveat for that it says third-party financiers are exempt from
But
PHI
I don't know
data.
if it's all third-party.
Right.
But I thought, and tell me if I'm wrong, I thought that if a parent, say a parent has insurance for their teenage child, and the teenage child goes to any kind of doctor.
Yeah.
I thought that the doctor could not release the information about that teenage child to the parent whose insurance they're covered by.
Actually, if it's a teenager, the doctor can and will immediately release all records to the parent. The parent is the legal guardian.
So just minor doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
In this case, Pickett is sponsoring what we assume is an adult. It's a friend. And so like I think that Pickett will get. So okay, there's two ways to approach this. So number one, Nick and I are in agreement. There's nothing wrong with asking for attendance records.
No.
There's two ways to acquire that. Either A, you just see the charge on your card, and it, in my opinion, it is the therapist in question may want some paperwork charged or signed out. I don't suspect they will because it's not that common and no true PHI is being transacted in that situation. A card is being billed without any further information. So as long as you're not going to prosecute a fraud charge, the therapist doesn't give a fuck. And I don't know that anything needs to be signed off for that because no PHI is being transferred. Like, unless the receipt is being sent to you, and in which case it doesn't even need to be. So that's option A to get attendance confirmation. Option B is an ROI if you want to be safe about it, because I think Nick's getting some heartburn about this.
Yeah, because there is PHI that's being released.
Not if it's just a charge.
No, attendance.
That gives you time
there's
and
no
place
name,
and all that kind of stuff.
There's nothing there. It's a charge.
Yeah, I know. But that charge
So who's the
means
personal
attendance.
health information? Like, if PHI stands for personal health information, what personal identifier of health has been extracted from you go onto your bank account?
I know. Yeah, I know. I know it's nitpicky, but
I'm with
that
you
is
on this.
attendance in the program.
Okay.
It would be the same way as if someone comes to me and I send a letter or any kind of notification that this person met with me.
Yeah.
They know who I am. They know what I do.
Yes, okay.
This person is attending session. That is information.
You're announcing to one person that this other person attended a session.
I'll stop short of saying it would be a HIPAA violation. That's a bridge too far for me. I don't think it is. And Nick can disagree. I don't see in the letter of the law, and I just had to review this with my students the other day, and even if there was an angle of PHI that really qualifies as definitional PHI as being transferred, there is a provision in the statement that says for finances this doesn't matter. So like if a copay card is being put on file, and I'm saying, you know what, I've got your sessions, buddy, go see your doctor, I'm putting my debit card to swipe for your copays, there's not a conflict now. Like the doctor's office doesn't stop doing business and has to do extra paperwork. But if you want to go extra safe, path number 2 is, and again, this is not unreasonable, is you can tell this therapist or your friend, I would just like a limited release of information only for attendance confirmation if I ask. That is it. And that is very limited, and there's a lot. I've gotten a lot of ROIs for that, because we'll have like people on parole, or people that are being sent by their job as a requirement, or people that are, having some kind of legal issue. And it's very common that the judge will request attendance record, and I will ask the patient, okay, I need you to sign this piece of paper that says I have permission only to disclose your attendance in therapy, not treatment, not presenting problem, not what was talked about. And that's kind of where I'd want you to go, Pickett. The idea that you would show up in the first session and kind of help chart a course and like give information to the therapist, that's not wrong thinking. That's a good idea. It's not necessary, because in the beginning, I just want your friend to go and say whatever they choose to say and present whatever they choose to present as the problem. And hopefully the therapist helps crack that open over time to the point where your friend can start kind of being more clear and opening up more about what their experiences are. Down the road, you could say, hey, friend, I want to continue to support you in this. You can absolutely say no to this request. It will not bother me. I will continue to pay for your therapy. But if you would ever like me to come be a guest in a future session, I'd love to just be your friend and learn from your therapist how I can better support you. And that's a great pitch, because then your friend will think, okay, that sounds benign. And then you show up and the therapist says, okay, thanks for coming, supportive friend. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going on and how I think you can be helpful to your friend. They might give you some information about how to support somebody with depression. But then you can also say, great, while I'm here, can I share some observations that I've made and just give that information to you? And the therapist will usually say, yeah, sure, as long as your friend's not upset about that, that's great. And then you just add some notes and be like, yeah, sometimes I notice they get a little irritable. Sometimes I notice they get really down on themselves. They have low self-esteem. They kind of get spirally and think that none of us really love them when we really do. And just those are the things I've noticed. And like the therapist probably be like, great, thank you for the notes, man. That's awesome. And you can do that down the road. Like I don't recommend showing up on session 1 for that. Again, because I kind of want your friend to just present themselves in whatever their truth is. And therapists are used to being lied to. A lot of people are afraid that like, oh, if you just go to this therapist without somebody there to like tell the truth, you're going to tell the therapist that you don't know why you're there, and it's all very nebulous and something unclear, and then you're afraid that like your friend is not going to attack the problem. But that is the level at which they are ready to talk about the problem. And the therapist knows to meet that person there and to work from that location. So that would be my encouragement. Yes to attendance. Yes, there's paperwork that can be filled out. But I'd probably be reluctant to have you show up at the intake session.
My friend is worried that I never wear pants.
Yeah. What's up
That's
with
what
that?
they're worried about.
They're a prude.
I'm just here.
I'm just here.
Because they want me to be here.
Yeah.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah. I'm Marshawn lynching it.
Yeah.
I'm here so I don't get fined. Yeah. So that's probably my advice on that. I mean, same page, or would you say no? You don't think it's okay to ask for the attendance?
No, I think that's fine. I mean, at the end of the day, like I kind of get your frustration here, Pickett, as far as like there is a sense of fear that you're kind of hoping that his attendance, or I think it's him, his attendance in this is going to focus on the things that you've identified as being the problem.
Right.
And not to say that you're wrong about that. You're probably right about all of that. And there is a big fear, and I think it's the same fear that most loved ones have when a friend or a loved one goes into therapy, which is like, I don't know what's happening in these sessions, and it really kind of makes me nervous that they're going to be going to these sessions, and now I'm paying for these sessions. And what if he never brings up the things that are really the problem, and the therapist doesn't know what's going on with any of this? I empathize completely with any anxiety that you may have over that. The downside, I think, to that is, unfortunately, it's his therapy. Even though you're paying for it, it is his. And it really is up to him how much he's willing to let you be involved.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would hate to also kind of get to a point where, it becomes something like, well, I'm paying for this, so if I can't go to all your sessions, then I'm not going to pay for it.
Yeah, that wouldn't be great.
Yeah, I mean, and that's well within your right.
Yeah.
As the person writing the check. That's well within your right to do.
Yeah.
I don't know as if it'd be beneficial for him. I don't think it'd be beneficial for you. But
paying for therapy, whether you are the person receiving the therapy or paying for therapy for someone else, paying for therapy, you are innately putting your trust in the therapist.
Yes,
and you're putting your trust in that process of the therapy with that professional. And so, I mean, if you are paying for therapy for someone else, I would suggest just thinking of it as I am putting my trust in this process. I'm putting my trust in this therapist, and they are going to go through the process. They're going to do the work. I'm not going to understand all of it. I may or may not agree with every single step, but that is where I'm putting my trust, and that's where that has to be.
I love that. And, you're absolutely right, Jacob, because this actually goes back to what Nick was saying. Another component of this too, Pickett, is that when your friend presents to the therapist is sizing up what their stage of change is. How aware are they of their own problems? How willing are they to change those problems? And even if that starts with them showing up to the therapist and not even addressing the elephant in their room, that isn't necessarily wrong. Because if they're in that contemplation or pre-contemplation stage of change, the therapist needs to find them there. And we need to organically help them get further along. Otherwise, the change won't stick. So the good news is you're not doing anything wrong, even if your friend takes the scenic route. Now, having said that, nobody has infinite funds. People want to get a return on investment, and that is okay. People want health to come in a timely manner. I would recommend, if you are going to sponsor a friend or a family member, and this is now to the general audience, if you're ever going to sponsor somebody, I really recommend that being something that you say, kind of like an insurance does, I will be sponsoring X number of sessions. So a healthy number, if you want to be on the more generous side, I think a generous first number is to say, I'm going to sponsor a season of the calendar. So 12 sessions, 3 months, once a week, 12 sessions. I'm going to sponsor 12 sessions. Letting your friend know that, letting the therapist know that. That way, both of them can work with a purpose and try to make that as meaningful as possible and know that that is sponsored. Then what I would do is toward the end of that, I would have a check-in with my friend and I would ask, how has this been going for you? What's going on? And if you decide they're making some progress, I don't want to necessarily disrupt this. What you can always do at that point is, now that you're 12 sessions deep, now contact the therapist again and say, hey, are you willing to do some kind of sliding scale so that I can continue this sponsorship for my friend? That is not an unreasonable conversation.
Oh, yeah.
That is a normal thing to ask. And in this situation, I think the therapists are, I've had this happen. I've had people reach out to me and say, I'd like to sponsor so-and-so. I'll be taking care of them. And then we go along, and then eventually I've had that person.
Patreon.com/therapy.
There you go. And they've reached back out to me and said, hey, you know, I'm sponsoring this person. You've been working with this person. Would you be willing to help make this financially easier for me? And I think most therapists respond the way I did in that situation, which is like, you know, I'm honestly so inspired that you're doing this for some human that I kind of want to be able to make this possible for you. And so if I have the time on my calendar, if it's not a conflict, then yes, you know, I will be able to open up that time and I'll take a haircut on this so that we can jointly make this project continue. And if I feel like this patient's making incredible progress and they're invested in this, the stars align, that's fine. So anyway, I would encourage that kind of method, Pickett. That way there's a little bit of a check-in accountability. It's not just an open, you know, endless blank check. I don't think that will be good. I think it can lead to resentment. I think it can lead to you seeking for accountability. I think a more timely manner is to say, I'm going to sponsor this for 3 months, or I'm going to sponsor 12 sessions. And you can space those out as much as you want, my friend. If you want to go once a month, that's your prerogative. At least it's something. You want to go once every other week and make this a 6-month thing. Great, I'm with you. There's a lot of ways to slice it, but that would be the way that I would do it. And then toward the end of that engagement, I would then, if I chose to continue to extend it, that's when I would check in with a therapist and say, hey, can you help me make this sustainable a little bit? Let's go for another year or whatever. And I think a lot of therapists will say, yes, this is a unique project. I'm excited for this. I like what you're doing and I want to help you do that. Let's make that possible. So that would be my guess. I think that would be possible. That's my last thought on it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you're paying for 12 sessions, that's very generous. I think that's more than what a lot of insurance companies and EAPs would pay for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do like the idea of setting some kind of, like limit, like here, I'm going to help you out this much. And then from there, hopefully you can get on your feet and, you know, then we can renegotiate or something.
Yeah, 100. Anyway, thank you, Pickett. We appreciate you sponsoring our show as well and making therapy more available to everybody. And love hearing the story, man. But, you know, don't strap yourself to this project forever. That can become bad for you and your relationship and your mental health. I don't want that for you. So please make sure that you're still putting yourself first, even while you're trying to be kind to others. And thank you for supporting mental health that we bring in this program and also the mental health of your friend. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're discussing a therapist struggling to make it. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
That's right.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Don, Malia, Richard Macy, Sunny Boy, Samantha Cone, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Slurpee Kaye, Motherfucker, and Sandra McWaffle. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy.
I just realized if Whitney got fired from this show, nobody would know about it because we would just keep doing bits. People would be like, "Oh, she's just out.
She's on hiatus."
Yeah,
she's
and
on
they're just doing
sabbatical.
bits about her. Fine.
Yeah, I think we could run it for a while.
I feel like we get at least 2 months out of it.
I'll bet you we would run it long enough to where we would get bored and stop doing it, and it will have been long enough that the audience no longer cares.
Right.
Like, we're like, oh yeah, they had this chick Whitney for like a year and a half, and then God knows what happened.
Yeah. They used to call her Mercedes. I don't know.
Yeah.
We got trivia, going back to trivia from Emma. Olympics trivia, which is probably
I think
probably
it's still timely.
could have gotten.
Did
to
you
this
guys
a lot
catch
earlier.
the NBA finals or not? The men's basketball gold game?
The men's and women's.
I
were
got
both
the women's.
fantastic.
Oh,
I
were
caught
they?
the women's. They almost tied it up. France almost tied it up at the very end. Made the basket, but her foot was on the line, so it was a 2-pointer instead of a 3.
They were
and
3
lost.
points down. France put the shot up, made the shot, and her foot was on the line.
Who was France against?
USA.
U.S.
Oh wow, we got
It was
both of
U.S.
them.
versus France in both men's and women's. First time ever.
Gosh, wow!
It was the first time ever that the men's and women's basketball finals were the two.
And USA
same two
golded
countries.
in both.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. Yeah, the men's game was maybe one of the best moments in
the
sports
men's
I've ever seen.
semifinal game against Serbia, was one of the best basketball games I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
And the men's final game against France was fantastic. It wasn't as good as the Serbian game, but it was fantastic.
Serbia, it wasn't very well. France fought their asses off, But Steph Curry, dude, he just
Oh, it turns out
cemented-
Steph Curry's really good at basketball.
Yeah, and just does whatever he wants. Like the final shot from Steph Curry, his like fourth 3-pointer in a row.
Over the two defenders.
Over two defenders, while LeBron James and Kevin Durant stand completely
Hanging out.
unguarded, just
Hanging
twiddling
out.
their thumbs, tying their shoes. He's got it.
Yeah.
Like, crazy. Anyway,
I didn't see
problem.
that, but I did catch the breaking.
Oh, yeah.
The men's breaking.
It was great.
what is breaking?
Yeah.
Breakdancing.
Breakdancing.
Oh, okay.
No one in the Olympics had a better time
Oh,
than
yeah.
those.
They were just having fun.
I would
It was
argue
a blast.
the surfers.
Oh, the surfers.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
The
They
surfers
probably had their moment.
Maybe they did just fine.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Because it was in like French Polynesia or something like that, where they had to do it.
Is it Tahiti?
I forget where it was exactly, but
Yeah.
it
I think
was
it was
part.
French Polynesia. Yeah.
But yeah, the where they were, I believe, was part of French Polynesia, and also Colin Jost
Yes.
won basically the NBC lottery to be the correspondent for the surfing competition.
Oh, that's awesome
Yeah.
for him. That's great.
Oh yeah,
They lottoed it
just
off.
good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they said it was like that. I'm sure that somebody made the decision
Yeah.
at some point.
He's going.
But yeah,
He is-
it was
that was a
like,
great choice.
Yeah.
That's a great event for him too.
Yeah, and did he take it seriously? No.
no.
No, we don't
course
want
not.
you to.
Did he take it as seriously as I wanted him to?
Yeah.
Yes.
100.
Yeah, that's true. Which Olympic sport allows both men and women to compete directly against each other in the same events?
Oh my god.
A, sailing, B, equestrian, C, shooting, or D, all of the above.
Oh wow.
So I don't think they've got men and women's sailing.
I don't
so
think they
that
do
one's
either.
definitely in.
Yeah.
Equestrian, I believe. Equestrian, I know is in.
I think it's
Okay.
all of the above.
I think it is too.
I'm wanting all the above only because equestrian and shooting. I don't think so for sailing. I feel like I've seen events that are women sailing. And I think it does matter because you need that body weight to right the ship and turn it. I'm going to go with
With those
just
fat ladies.
The, the way they end the opera
Yeah.
is the same way they turn the fucking boat.
That's right.
I'm going to go shooting. I feel like that is going to be everybody free for all.
Okay.
Nobody cares.
I'm all of the above.
I'm all of the above too, and it is all of the above.
Damn it.
Okay.
I'm a sexist. I think that's what we just learned.
Yeah, we did.
In 2012, which comedian famously learned to paffe, P-I-A-F-F-E, paffe, on his show, bringing attention to Olympic dressage? Jimmy Fallon, Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert, Conan O'Brien.
I'll take Colbert. I feel like I remember Colbert relentlessly shitting on Mitt Romney for this. I think he did it.
Okay. This feels like Fallon to me.
Oh, I was going to say it feels like Conan, but Conan...
Did he have a show?
Well, and is there a horse large enough? He's a tall dude. I'm going to stick with Conan.
All right.
You guys going to stick with yours?
I'm going with Colbert.
I'll take Fallon.
Stephen Colbert.
There it is.
All right.
Bing, bing, bing. Way to be there for me, Colbert.
What unusual event was included in the early modern Olympics but is no longer part of the games? Tug of war, firefighting, cheese rolling, log rolling.
Oh, man. I want all of those to
I
be a
want
thing.
Adalingus.
That's in there.
That was the original Greek sport. Yeah. They knew how to play.
I'm going to go tug of war. That seems very
Olympic.
Very
Wait,
Yeah.
what were they again?
Log rolling.
tug of war,
cheese rolling.
firefighting, cheese rolling, log rolling. Log rolling.
Wait, what was the question?
Which unusual event was included in the early modern Olympics but is no longer part of the games? Oh, so early modern
Yeah, not ancient.
is not like ancient.
No, this is
Greek.
like that'd be like
I think they rebooted it in like the
40s
1940s
or
or
so.
something.
God,
Yeah.
all of those could work.
It's been going for like 100.
I'll take log rolling.
That seems so good. I don't think it's going to be cheese. I'm going to go firefighting just to keep it interesting.
I
but
wanted to
I think you're
I
right.
hope it's firefighting. They set a fire.
That seems relevant.
What
you know?
country puts it out first?
I feel like it's relevant.
I think that's how the Chicago fire happened.
That's
I think
right.
that was
So,
an
They're
Olympic.
training for the
Yeah.
Olympics.
So what's yours?
Firefighting.
It is tug of war.
All right.
Yes.
So there we go.
That does feel correct. Like, of all of them, And honestly, I kind
Tug
of
of war
wish
is
that
pretty
was still
basic.
a thing.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wish that was still going on, honestly. I'd have been really happy with that. So that's the end of that round?
That's it.
All right, so scores, Jim's got a goose egg, I think. Or no, I got the Colbert one.
Yeah.
So they're just all single pointers. So I got
think
one.
I think
Yeah, I
Nick's
got
got two, and you and I both have one,
All
Jim.
right, that sounds competitive. I like this. Second question of the night: a therapist struggling to make it, from Anonymous. I think. No, actually, it's from Katrinka. Sometimes I just write Anonymous because I don't fucking care. A therapist struggling to make it. Hello, you fucking fantastic
Katrinka, I care
beasts.
about you.
Yes, Jacob does. I love your podcast. My bladder and undergarments at times don't because of the random tangents you go on. But that is for a medical podcast to figure out. I'm in my third
Or
year.
a Mormon podcast,
I feel like
depending on the
Mormons,
undergarments.
depending upon if they're full body.
Yeah.
Good call.
I'm in my third year of practice, but first month as a LPCC,
Gesundheit.
as I recently got licensed on July 1st.
Congrats.
Congratulations. However,
What's
pay,
an LPCC, LPPPs?
So I think
Licensed
they finished.
practice clinical counselor.
I think that's it. They,
Okay.
they finished their learner's permit. They're
God, every-
officially licensed.
Every state, not every state, but a lot of these states have like licenses that are particular to their state.
Okay.
Yeah, they name them differently.
Yeah, like LMHCs is a licensed
Yeah.
mental health counselor. Like Iowa had that, Nevada doesn't. Some states
Yeah.
do, some states don't. But there's always like an equivalent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't know for sure what LPCC is, but
Yeah.
I'm
something along those lines.
yeah, I feel very confident I understand what
It
it
is.
is.
Yeah, a lot of states do. LPCC is the fully licensed, and LPC is like the junior license. So anyway, I think Katrinka just finished up and got officially fully licensed. Congratulations. However, pay sucks
Large
donkey balls.
prophylactic.
There's that. Pay sucks donkey balls, as you may know. I'm a single mother of 3 carnivorous teens, with one going to college this fall for pre-med. My BMI says I'm way too curvaceous for stripping, and OnlyFans can
Disagree.
identify me. Yeah, you deeply misunderstand how OnlyFans works. You need to do some
What is it?
research, madam.
PodTherapyGuys at gmail.com.
We'll be the judges.
Send
That's
them in.
right. That's right. We want to know. We want to help you. We believe in helping single moms launch businesses.
That's right.
But way too curvaceous for stripping, and my OnlyFans can identify me, so I can't make extra money there. I tried having a weekend
Not with
job.
that attitude.
I tried having a weekend job, but with working 40 to 50 hours a week and being a single mom, I hated myself and got severely depressed, and I quit my job. I refocused at work to where I enjoy it 70% of the time. I'm just starting to figure out my passions, but all of the trainings are out of pocket. I'm frustrated with the lack of support at my work and outside in the therapy community. Any words of advice would be greatly appreciated, as I am tired of gaining stress weight as I eat peanut butter M&Ms for my protein source of the day.
Yeah, I love peanut butter M&Ms.
What the fuck? Sincerely, Katrinka. Dude, peanut butter M&Ms are far and away the best M&Ms.
That's how I discovered I was allergic to peanuts.
Was just horking those things down.
Yeah, because they were my favorite candy. And when I was really stressed, one of my employees would always bring in peanut butter M&Ms.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so I was just eating them like crazy.
Yeah, was it
And then-
Brian?
No, it
I
wasn't.
feel like he would bring you peanut butter M&Ms.
No, he wouldn't. Guarantee he wouldn't.
And didn't, apparently.
Apparently he didn't try to kill you. Okay.
Yeah, so I ended up going to the doctor, getting like steroid shots a few times.
Oh,
And then
wow.
at some point, the doctor's like, "Look, we just can't continue doing the shots. Like, you got to figure out
fucking
what you're
dealing
actually
with
allergic
this.
to."
My insurance
so-
will keep covering them.
Yeah, yeah,
What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
I've never been so fucking ripped.
yeah.
I think it's peanut butter M&Ms is number 1. Number 2, pretzel M&Ms. You ever had those?
Oh, shit. Your
No.
credibility is out the
You
window
don't like the pretzel
instantly.
M&Ms? They're very good.
Number 2 M&M, pretzel M&Ms.
Is that the
What the
crunchy
fuck are
ones?
you talking about?
I like the pretzel. And number
Number
3,
2 is just plain M&Ms. I think.
I go peanut butter, pretzel M&Ms, M&M minis.
All right. I'm going to tell you the actual order.
All right, correct me, sir.
Number 1, regular M&Ms with the dark chocolate.
Ugh. All
So
right.
get rid of the
yeah,
milk
yeah,
chocolate.
those
You
are
put the
good.
dark chocolate in there, and then you take those, put those in the freezer.
Oh, come on. That's not fair.
I'd
And then you
still
can go
say
fuck
two.
yourself.
I still say number 2.
And then close second for me. Close second.
Okay.
Peanut butter M&M.
Okay.
Some
okay, so it's going in the
frozen dark chocolate M&M first. Peanut butter M&M second.
Yeah.
Pretzel M&M eighth.
What is third?
I don't know, but pretzel M&M is
Do
eighth.
you like almond M&Ms?
I do.
Oh,
I do like almond
We
M&Ms.
definitely agree to disagree.
M&Ms are good. Those are okay.
If you're
I
getting
prefer
a,
peanut, but
if
Number
you're getting
3,
a cookie,
Reese's peanut butter cups.
oh fuck yeah,
You go fuck yourself.
Yeah, those are always good.
Yeah.
If I ever see a cookie in the store and it's like you can choose between chocolate chip or M&Ms, always M&Ms.
All right.
As a cookie, is that not your go?
no,
Sometimes it's
Sometimes you're in the
like the
mood for
chocolate
it.
or the chocolate chunk or something like that.
Okay.
But
A chocolate
I'm not
chunk
mad
is a whole
at it. I'm
different
not mad
category.
at M&M cookie.
I'm
a
not
good
turning
monster
one down.
cookie.
A monster cookie.
What is
solid.
a monster cookie?
Yeah.
It's a cookie just on top of a Monster Energy drink.
yes. Monster cookie.
Wow.
Yeah,
All right.
it's just you take a
Just
can of
saturated?
Monster Energy
Yeah,
drink
yeah.
and put a cookie on top
Okay.
of it.
It's
Yeah,
a can of Monster Energy drink filled with cookie dough.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good.
You
Yeah.
just squeeze it out.
Yeah.
Toothpaste tube style.
You roll it
It
in a
takes a
magnet.
lot of dedication.
You have to want that
Yeah.
so bad. The Red Bull overwhelms the cookie
That's
dough
right.
in your stomach, and they just fight it out as
Yeah.
you sit there choking.
You will have a heart attack.
All right. So
Guaranteed, or your money back.
new fully licensed therapist trying to hold it together, stressed with the job, feeling unsupported, a little underfinanced as a single parent as well, and trying to keep it together.
I'll just start by saying fucking good on you.
Oh yeah.
Single parent,
Yeah.
doing the work, putting in
Yeah.
the hours.
100.
Bravo, kudos,
Hell
all
yeah.
those things to you. Like you're fucking like you've got a tough road there.
Yeah.
and you're just doing it.
So,
Like,
always
Proud of you,
applauding single
love you for
parents.
doing that. Good on you.
Have you tried starving your kids? See, you can save so
Ooh.
much money.
By just not giving them food.
It turns out if you don't, the government will take them and feed them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they'll take real good care of them.
it's free. I'm not saying good, but
They
free.
put you in houses like Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, your kids could be adopted by Nick and be fed ramen twice a day.
Yeah. Man, Katrinka, I feel for you on this one.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It really sucks because it's such an important job
Yep.
and it is just not valued by society in the sense of like adequate compensation for the amount of training that you have to go through. What you actually get in the end is really terrible. I mean, it's I compare it like I'm a social worker, so like I get it. Social workers, school teachers, all kind of the same thing. Where it's like you have to love what you do, and you have to find meaning internally to kind of keep you going because it's definitely not for the money. So a couple things I would point out. So you just got licensed. Okay, so that's brand new. And I don't know what your area looks like if there's an opportunity now where you can see that you're not going to be stuck in the situation forever. Like, is there a way that you can advance within your own organization? Or if you get enough training, can you leave to find another higher paying job someplace else? I'm not sure really what's in your area. But that's initially what I would look at is I would look at, okay, I'm sacrificing now, but what's down the road? Is there something coming soon
Right.
that I can then jump to? Because if that's the case, then it's just, a matter of, managing your finances as best you can to keep going and just kind of look and wait for that opportunity and be patient. If that's not the case, then that becomes a lot more difficult.
Yeah. Couple of notes on here. So we don't talk a lot about therapist finances on the show. You just kind of hear us occasionally, very occasionally, sort of passively reference that it's an underfunded healthcare profession. But for perspective, and this is fresh in my mind because I actually just wrote a letter to the Board of Examiners because there's a conversation in Nevada that has to do with joining what's called the Counseling Compact, which will allow therapists in Nevada, in my particular discipline, to practice across state lines with most of the country, which I'll level with the audience, personally benefits me. I, over the years, have had a lot of listeners reach out and say, hey, man, I listen to you every week. I feel like I know you pretty good. I'd like to work with you. And I've had to say, hey, I'm sorry. I really can't practice cross state lines unless I feel like it's just kind of a life coaching thing. And even that over the years, I've really dialed back. If this law passes in Nevada, I stand to personally benefit. I can just swing wide the gate and say, great, international audience, how can I help you? And that would be great for me. I would love to do that. I would love to work with people that get my sense of humor and have tolerated me, and also to meet people where they're at. But the bigger picture of how it will affect the profession in the state, I feel very concerned about, and I worry about my colleagues, and I worry that it won't be good for them. And so all these statistics are very much on the top of my mind. So to educate the public for a second, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average annual salary for a mental health counselor is $56,000.
Seems high.
Yeah, thank you. For comparison, so to put that in perspective, as Nick just said, for the education
You
experience,
lost that in your couch.
Yeah. Jacob dropped that on the way here.
I
No
thought we
clue where that
agreed
money
that
is.
we weren't going to talk about how I JD Vanced my couch.
I started making Valentine's Day cards already that are pictures of JD Vance and a couch, and
Good.
like somehow
Good.
putting that.
Yeah. Checks out.
Absolutely. I hope it still plays.
Yeah.
So I've been putting time into it. But yeah, I mean, like the average salary of a mental health counselor is $56,000. A fully licensed mental health counselor.
For anyone listening to this in the future, Jim is making Valentine's Day cards in August.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, just to make sure it's done right. So to put it in perspective, as Nick referenced for education and experience, to become a licensed therapist in almost any state of the 50, you're going to go get a 4-year bachelor degree. And then when you finish that, you're going to go back to graduate school and you're going to do a master's degree. Many master's degrees in America are 15 to 20 credits. The average master's degree in America is about 20 to 25 credits for your subject. In mental health counseling, in any mental health counseling discipline, it is 66 to 70 credits. So you're talking about 2 to 3 years of full-time master's work. During that time, you're also going to do hundreds of hours of free therapy as you train and learn. Then when you finally finish 7 years of higher education, now you're still not a therapist. You're now going to train postgraduate for 3 more years under mentors who are fully licensed and board certified to continue to train you. They will not do that for free. And there is no fellowship programs like there are for medical doctors, where after they graduate med school, they join a fellowship and now they do their hands-on training time and they get paid to do it. That doesn't exist for mental health counselors. So mental health counselors of all varieties go out into the field, they practice, they earn a little bit of money for doing that, and then they pay out of pocket, usually on credit cards, for the board-required supervision that they need for 2 or 3 years in order to become fully licensed. And then, of course, they also finish that up by taking very big, very expensive, very difficult national exams. So you're talking about ultimately 10 years of higher education, advanced postgraduate clinical training in a very specific skill set. All of that to land at $56,000 a year. The last search I did for a McDonald's general manager job, or actually not even GM, just store manager, here in Las Vegas, started at $61,000 a year. No college required, high school diploma, and some experience, and probably in your 30s in order to be older than the kids that work there. So that goes to show you why it's a very tough profession to step into. You're going to be $10,000, $15,000 less annually than an average McDonald's manager.
Plus, let's forget the McDonald's manager doesn't have student loans.
Yes, exactly. That's a whole other point.
Most likely.
Most likely. And then again, for perspective, a registered nurse who at 18 years old starts college, they go to school for 4 years, they get out, and then they are in their job in their 5th year. They are 22, 23 years old. They start in America at $86,000 a year, Bureau of Labor Statistics citations. So what the writer Katrinka is talking about is that difficult reality that we have the situation. Now, you might say to yourself, man, I do not understand that. I listen to this show. I feel like I really respect mental health professionals. I agree with the education. I agree with the training. How on earth could this be possible? Well, the short answer is criminal fraud is just the shortest possible answer. You might think, oh, Jim, You're always full of baloney. This is probably one of those moments you're just a dumbass. Oh, you're usually right, writer. But actually on this shit,
You sure are.
surgical strike on the truth. So in 2022,
In fairness, you might be right this time too. We'll see.
We'll never know. In 2022, federal government, 3 branches of the federal government, 3 executive branches, Department of Labor, Department of Health and Human Services, and Department of Treasury, co-issued a report on mental health parity law. There have been 3 laws passed federally requiring insurances to stop lowballing therapists and mental health professionals and instead to pay us the equivalent of what any medical doctor gets paid. The report in 2022 revealed that out of 156 private insurance companies that do business in America, exactly 156 of them were found to be completely non-compliant with all federal laws. Every single one of them was just not paying therapists what the federal law requires them to pay. And the consequence for these watchdog federal agencies catching these people, catching these insurances, flouting the law and breaking it, the consequence for that was exactly nothing. The only consequences that were put on them at all was occasionally some of the insurances had clawed back funds already paid to therapists, and they were told to give back that money. And in most of those cases, when they returned the checks...
So the money they had paid to therapists and then...
stolen back.
Claimed back,
saying, you know what, we don't think John really had depression.
They had to give that money back.
We think you, the therapist who diagnosed John with depression, me, some random asshole who just works in administration here at the office.
Got to change that title.
I'm questioning whether or not this John really had depression, and I question your diagnosis without any training whatsoever. I'm clawing back a year's worth of funds on this, and so occasionally,
to roughly $32.
Yeah, right. Tens of thousands of dollars for clinics, and occasionally the punishment for insurances who clawed back money was to give some of that money back. Most of the time, when they finally were forced to give the money back, the clinic had already gone bankrupt.
Yeah.
That is how small they are. That is how close to the margins they operate. So, big picture, when I tell you how dire the financial system is for mental health professions, I am not telling you, woe is us. This is also why 70% of mental health professionals work out of network. If you've ever gotten frustrated and thought, why the fuck can't I find anybody in my insurance range? Why does nobody take the network? Because the insurances are criminally underpaying us. They are breaking federal laws. Because it is cheaper to break the law and very rarely incur some kind of federal penalty than it is to obey the law and pay the money. And there are no consequences. And the only times we see consequences are when state legislatures get involved and exercise oversight on the insurance companies. But that is very rare because insurance companies are a big fish in any state. They have a lot of money and they pay the state legislatures. They fund all these campaigns to make sure there is never oversight. So you can get all tinfoil
Super
hatty
PACs,
about
all
it,
the stuff like
they just cut
unlimited
checks.
funding to political campaigns.
They cut checks.
That's what all this is
Cut
about.
all the checks to the politicians. The politicians do not increase oversight. They let it go, and we all just move on. So to Katrinka's point, her story is sadly not an outlier. If you go to Reddit and you go to like the subreddit of just therapists, every other day the post is, how did I do 10 years of higher education and expertise? I am on the front line of healthcare. I am saving lives every single day. I am so valuable. I am on food stamps. What the fuck? And it is ridiculous. And so, you know, it is hard to make it as a therapist. The therapists that do make it either work their asses off and like, this is another thing, and it goes into my letter to the Board of Examiners. And sorry I'm on the soapbox for a second, but it's very fresh in my mind. The American Counseling Association just released their annual workforce survey report for 2024. 34% of therapists surveyed have 2 or more jobs to survive. If you found out that 34% of fucking surgeons were delivering pizzas or selling real estate on the side, it would terrify you. You do not want a surgeon who this is their part-time side hustle, is pulling fucking cancer out of you. You want somebody that does this all day, every day, reads books on it when they're off, goes to every training available,
Right.
and is sharpening their fucking scalpels on their days off.
Yeah. When I order a pizza, I expect it to be delivered by a well-trained individual that knows what they're doing. Not someone who's doing it as a part-time gig while they're doing their therapy shit on the
30
side.
minutes or less, Tangeman. Jesus Christ.
Get me my goddamn pizza hot and ready.
End of rant. But that is the background economics of the field. So what happens is that 70% of the field does not take the insurances which the insurances are overjoyed with. They do not want you to be enlisted with them because then you can take what small pittance they offer. And if you're not even with them, you can't touch their beautiful money. So they love that and nobody stops the situation. So the therapists who do well in the profession, who earn good money or get into those six-figure ranges, tend to get into cash pay private practice, or they get into out-of-network private practice, because in out-of-network models, you can say, listen, insurance, I charge this much for an hour. That is my livable wage. That is what my education expertise is worth. You can pay that, or you can pay a portion of that and ask the client to pay the rest. That is between you two, but I'm staying out of it. So a lot of therapists do that. So, I mean, Ryder, I kind of agree with Nick here. If you are needing to secure yourself financially, which you have every right to do. That's another thing that pisses me off about this. When therapists talk about, golly, maybe we ought to get paid for our profession. Maybe we ought to be good for this. Maybe it's not okay that there is national criminal fraud to basically strangle an entire, section of healthcare. People go, gosh, you assholes are just in it for the money. And that really fucking sucks because nurses and doctors also save your goddamn life, but nobody accuses them of being in it for the money. They earn healthcare money and nobody's pissed about it because healthcare is fucking hard and you have to be really good at it. And the stakes are really fucking high. If you're, in another profession like computer science and you fuck something up, nobody fucking dies. Okay. Oh, the website's down. Fix that shit. That would be useful. Thanks. Here's a boatload of money for being really good at something. Awesome. In healthcare, people fucking die, and you better be paid to match the level of risk and energy you're putting into this to be excellent at it. But in mental health, this shit is criminally negligent, and it's just ignored. So a lot of therapists go into private practice. They go into cash pay. There's now this new business in a box model with companies like Headway and Alma that offer to get you connected to insurances and fight for a good competitive rate and basically make sure that you get paid and, allow you and also advertise on your behalf. A lot of therapists are doing that as sort of a side hustle in the beginning, or they build their entire practice around that. Whitney builds her entire practice around that, using those kinds of businesses in a box. I'm entirely cash pay. I don't touch the insurances at all. And that is very, very, very hard to do. And a very small percentage of therapists are lucky enough to get that opportunity. But Katrinka, if you work at it, I'm sad that is what you have to do. I'm sad that you can't just be excellent at what you do, show up in a healthcare workplace, kick ass at what you do, save lives, change lives, and get paid well for doing it. I'm sad that you have to find a way out of the mainstream of the profession to survive and provide for a family. That is ridiculous. But that is the reality that we're in. So I would encourage you to look at one of the business in a box models like Alma or Headway. I think a lot of colleagues are having a lot of success with that, launching a private practice and starting a side hustle on like private practice to try to continue to build that. Or you may have to do, as you wrote in your letter, what 34% of other therapists are doing, which is having a second job. And in truth, I mean, I don't need a second job. I have a private practice. It can be a full-time private practice. I've done that for years. But now I have 3 jobs. I teach at UNR, I teach at UNLV, I also work at a clinical training program at UNLV, and I have a private practice. And that's not a financial necessity, but it easily could be. If just it doesn't take much for that to become a financial necessity for me. But I also understand that you still want to raise these kids. You don't want to be working 60 hours a week. I get that. That's what I'm doing right now. It's a lot. It's very, very hard. I don't think that we should, but
the other option, too, that exists sometimes is sometimes you get promoted into administration. And that's I think one of the things that's really frustrating is the way the system is set up is, at least in the substance use treatment world, if you're really good at your job, we promote you out of it.
Yeah.
And we have you stop doing it so that you can go into administration. And the reason why people accept that is because it's the only way they're going to make more money.
Yes.
Because you cannot, doesn't matter how good you are at your job, you will continue to make the same amount of money as somebody who's not good at their job.
Right.
Because that's just all the money that's available. So administration kind of becomes the way that people advance. And then unfortunately, then that means that you're no longer doing the thing that you're really good at.
Yeah. I'm glad that you did reevaluate. I'm glad that you found, according to your letter, some peace and some harmony. I guess we can only just encourage you and cheer for you. There are paths that some therapists take to make more money and to take off the financial burden so that they can take care of their families. I think we've tried to tip you to those. But as far as like how humans in this profession cope, I like that you bring up the peanut butter M&Ms. That is something a lot of therapists struggle with. Like all healthcare professions, when people are only coming to you when they are in a state of some kind of suffering of some level or another, sometimes very mild, sometimes they just want some life advice or they just want to use this as an emotional yoga space. Sometimes they are in dire straits. And so it is very taxing to do what we do, and it causes a lot of distress, and a lot of us struggle in the profession. And it's not uncommon that we are horfing down those peanut M&Ms or failing to do self-care, sometimes over drinking, sometimes smoking, like just going through our own human experience in the background. And I appreciate letters like yours, Katrinka, because it shines a light on that. And it humanizes us, which is what the pod therapy experiment is fundamentally about, is humanizing this profession so people can approach it and understand it and relate to it. So I just want to speak to that and just say that I support you on that. I relate to you on that. It's a very common thing. If you're not already in the Discord, please join. It's $1, and I realize asking you for money after a letter like that is sad. But for $1, you can get into the Discord, and we have a lot of other therapists that are in the Discord that chat and share notes and give each other encouragement. Finding a professional community wherever you can just to share notes and share encouragement and cheerlead for each other is huge. And if you're not already a part of that, I really hope that you'll find some kind of community support, because that really goes the distance. Like, that makes a big difference.
Yeah. And at $2 a month, you'll just feel better.
Yeah. And we'll support your OnlyFans. Like, if you do launch it, please send us the link. You know, we won't look at anything, but we will donate.
We'll put it out there, though.
We support single moms OnlyFans. Yeah. You know, because that's the pod therapy guarantee. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about cutting off support to a child. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Don, Malia, Richard Macy, Sunny Boy, Samantha Cone, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Slurpikaye Motherfucker, and Sandra McWaffle. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/therapy and sign up to become a theraproducer. Okay, next set of questions. Here we go. Which country has won the most medals in Winter Olympics history?
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Are there options?
It's just
There
straight
are.
raw numbers.
All right, United States, Germany, Norway, or Canada?
Oh, boy.
Oh.
I'm leaning Canada on this.
I'm leaning Norway.
Ooh, that's a solid guess.
All right, I'll take U.S.
Okay.
Sticking with the home team.
Yep.
You probably have a shot. I mean, none of these are bad answers.
I feel like I've got a shot. I feel like we're all in the game.
We compete in everything, too.
I want us all to be wrong, though. I want it to all be the
Germany.
Norway. Norway has won the most medals in Winter
Unfortunately,
Olympics
no
history.
one guessed Norway.
Oh,
That's a shame.
bummer.
Goose eggs
Bummer. I'm just going to
all
give myself
across
a point
the
for that one
board.
anyway.
All right, courtesy
All right.
point.
What nickname did Stephen Colbert give to dressage during his 2012 segment highlighting its perceived elegance and complexity?
God, he banged that drum.
Horse ballet,
Oh, that's it.
fancy prancing,
That might be it.
horse jazz,
Also good.
equine dance-off.
Shit. I think fancy prancy.
I'll take horse jazz.
I'll take B.
I was going to go B too.
You sunk my battleship.
Yeah, I'm going to take B as well. Answer is
What was
B. Fancy prancing.
I love
Ah.
it. Solid.
All right. How did Stephen Colbert describe the attire of dressage riders during his 2012 Olympic segments?
Questions about Stephen
He
Colbert.
ran it
bits.
for like a year. Like, he was so invested in this.
Like equestrian ninjas, like Victorian era superheroes,
That feels right.
like tuxedos for horses,
Mm.
like formal wear for a barn dance. I'm going to go with D.
I'll take B. I want Victorian superheroes.
Oh, I like Victoria. What was A?
Like equestrian ninjas.
No. What was
Yeah.
C?
C was like tuxedos for horses.
Yeah, give me that one.
It is B, like Victorian
Boom,
era
baby!
superheroes.
Yes.
There we
Thank
go.
you, Stephen. You have rewarded me with many a point today. I don't know the numbers, but I'm pretty sure I'm winning. Cutting off support to a child from Anonymous.
I think I'm winning.
Whitney, what are you doing back here? We told you to get out. I wrote in a few years ago about going to California and getting my daughter that had overdosed. My wife and I, her stepmom, worked to help her get clean, and though things had been going well until she got a DUI. We put her into detox and a 30-day rehab program. After rehab, she came to live with us, got a job, and we thought she was going good. She asked to move in with her biological mom. I didn't think that was such a good idea because she would not get the structure that she needed to stay clean. Unfortunately, she did end up going to her mother's. After she moved out, we found out that she'd been stealing little things that we either turned a blind eye to or just didn't notice. We also found that she was using when she assured us she was not. Once at her mother's, she stopped going to Alcoholics Anonymous, lost her job, and ended up totaling a car. That was about 2 years ago. During this time, she had threatened to commit suicide, went to rehab 2 or 3 more times. About a year ago, she got drunk, assaulted her mother and boyfriend. Her mother called the police and she got arrested for domestic violence. She called and asked me to bail her out. Since I knew that she was relatively safe in jail, I told her I would not get her out. Once out of jail, the state put her through rehab again. During that time, her boyfriend had moved to Arkansas. Once out of rehab, she connected with her boyfriend and moved there. Her mother and I told her that we did not think that was a good idea because if something happened, she would not have any support. But she went anyways. I got a call from her boyfriend saying she got arrested for public intoxication and disorderly conduct, and he was giving her a week to find a place or move back home. I told him that she could not move back in with me. Her mother and I have talked, and both feel that we can no longer support her financially or otherwise. She says that she may be homeless, and we do not love her, and we don't understand. I'm struggling with the thoughts of her with no place to stay, and what could happen if she in fact becomes homeless. How do we know how do we know we are doing the right thing? I'm not sure if I can handle the guilt of something happening to her. Her boyfriend says he will fly her home, but again, I don't think she would have any place to go once she's back. If you could maybe give me a little input or words of wisdom, I would appreciate it. Thanks, Anonymous.
Holy shit.
Yeah, this is a really, really tough one. And
I'm glad we're closing the show with an easy one.
Good.
Yeah.
The layups are easy.
Yeah, good.
I empathize with your position, Ryder, because here's the thing. It's easy. It's going to be easy for all. We all know what the answer to this is.
Right.
But it's
really easy to say the answer.
It's really easy to say it. It's not easy to accept it. And even if you do intellectually understand it, you're not going to emotionally understand it.
Right.
Because this is your daughter.
Yes.
You love this person. You would give anything for this person. And
more importantly, you would give anything for the well-being of this person.
Yeah, exactly.
Want to see them get better.
And it's so hard to watch a child go through this. And so you're doing the right thing. I mean, with setting these boundaries, but again, like, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I think you already know that you're doing the right thing. I think sometimes you just need to hear it from other people that you're doing the right thing by enforcing these boundaries. So 3 C's, the 3 C's of Al-Anon. I didn't cause this. I can't control it. I can't cure it.
Yes.
And Cox.
The 4 C's.
Yeah,
of
the
Al-Anon.
4th C. Subtle,
Yes.
but very important.
It's firm.
But fair.
Firm but fair. This is one of the things that, like, listening to that, I totally empathize with the position of like, totally, I'm going to set these boundaries, and yes, no, she can't come here, and nope, we're going to be firm, we're going to put our foot down. But then at the end of the day, if something happens,
Right.
you're absolutely right. And that sense of like, you are probably going to have that thought or that feeling of like, oh my God, I did the wrong thing. I should have been there. I should have just caved in. I should have let her come home. I should have done all this. And that's what any parent, I think, would feel in that situation.
It's like, you're in jail.
Yeah.
You're calling me to bail you out of jail. I think you're going to be fine in jail. And then you have that terrible fear of, what if my child gets hurt while in jail?
Right.
And I could have gotten them out of that situation.
Right.
And that is horrific to think about. It really is. It's terrible.
Situation.
Yeah. But then I think the thing that I would remind you as the father would be, okay, but you get this person out of jail, then what happens?
Yeah.
Because danger's not over.
Oh, yeah.
Then they do other dangerous shit.
Yeah.
And we've
And
seen
so-
that movie
Yeah. And
over and over.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's
Fight
one
Club.
of the things too. Like
We saw it.
Yes.
I've heard, and here's the thing, Ryder, you are not alone. Every parent that I've ever interacted with has had this exact same thought when their child gets arrested, have a huge sense of relief.
Right.
And think, oh, thank God. Now
Yes.
I know they're safe.
At least I know they're in somewhere
yes,
safe.
they're-
They can't
yeah.
use drugs, hypothetically.
And so,
yeah.
Yeah, and so there's nothing wrong with that feeling. That I think is the
Yes.
appropriate feeling and response.
Yes. And you know exactly what Nick just said. I mean, we've talked about this in the past, and this is something that Nick and I have had to work on a lot in our work in rehabs and with families, is affording the addict the dignity of discomfort, allowing them to experience the natural consequences of their choices. A big part of the disease of addiction is an ecosystem disease. It's a family disease. And one of the ways that happens is the people that love you protect you from the consequences. Imagine that there's a hot stove in your kitchen, and the person with this problem of addiction walks over and goes to put their hand on that stove. And each time they reach for that stove, you see them going for it and you protect them from it. You reach out and you slide your hand under their hand and press your hand on the stove to protect them from it. That is you paying for bail. That is you paying for rehab. That is you paying their legal fees. That is you keeping them at your house and paying their rent and paying for their costs of living, and they don't pay for anything. That is you buying them alcohol. It is you reaching out and touching all the painful consequences of this addiction. But humans will not learn. Pain is their greatest teacher. Nick and I have never rehabilitated somebody who was on a fucking winning streak. They come into rehab because they have hit rock bottom, because their parents and the system and their job and their PO officer, all these people are telling them, you're fucked. This is it. You choose to get healthy or you choose to fail and feel that pain.
A lot of people have given up.
A lot of people have. And it takes that for us to be able to help them. That is when humans become willing to accept help. And if I can be honest with you, Ryder, female patients have a very different reality than the males. Women run and gun longer in their addiction because they enjoy a different kind of sympathy. There is a different sense of the family of like, we've got to protect her. She's into drugs and alcohol. I don't want her going out and slumming it with the people underneath the bridge. I don't want her to get raped. She's just a girl. I don't want her to get hurt. And then, of course, other men in the game who are dealing drugs or using drugs or drinking all the time, they'll pay the bar tab. They'll pay for the girl to enjoy some drugs and hang out at the apartment and date them or just be a part of the crowd. So like we call it the infinite credit card of femininity. And it's a problem because they can use a lot longer, whereas male patients tend to hit the wall faster because they run out of sympathy or interest from other people. And ultimately that allows them to get healthy. So, I mean, all of this.
So you say it takes the women longer to hit rock bottom?
It does. Yeah, they have the parachute. And, you know, and a lot of times they just take that ladder right back up to the top and then jump again. And they need to be allowed to hit the ground. They need to be allowed to experience the natural consequences. So, Ryder, the two notes I have for you are, one, what Nick said, you have got to get into Al-Anon and Nar-Anon right away. That changed my life. That changed the life of a lot of people who are in your situation. Get in there.
What's
learn.
Al-Anon?
Al-Anon is the supplemental group to Alcoholics Anonymous. So it is not for the alcoholic. It is for the friends and family of the alcoholic.
What do you learn in Al-Anon?
So Al-Anon and its correspondent Nar-Anon, same concept. Instead of Narcotics Anonymous, it's Nar-Anon. It's not for the addict. It's for the friends and family. It's a support group for people that are in your situation. And we have our own books, our own 12-step, our own sense of advice, where we are counseling, encouraging each other to stop enabling, to stop being codependent, to stop being drugged down with this person, and to give them the dignity of discomfort so they can get better.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to face those fears together too, and you need that support.
Also, I think the other thing that's going to be useful about a 12-step group like this is that from your perspective, you're writing this and you feel like this is a situation that is unique to you.
Good point.
And the very first thing that you're going to realize, because I mean, reading this letter,
Sure.
there is nothing that you've said in this letter that I haven't heard 1,000 times before.
Oh, yeah.
This, I mean, having worked in this field as long as I have, like this is I hear this all the time.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things too that you're going to get going to one of those meetings is you're going to hear other people like, yeah, yep, absolutely. I went through that. And sometimes it's nice just to be able to understand that you're not alone in that situation.
Yes.
And you get to learn from things that they've done. You know, you get to learn from their mistakes. You also get to learn from their successes.
Yeah. And, you know, again, Ryder, what Nick said, there's nothing about this that you're doing wrong. You've been very kind. You've been very generous. I think you've done all the right things, but she has now gone to rehab 3 or 4 times. She has had tons of financial consequences, tons of legal consequences. She has burned the bridge in her relationship. She has burned the bridge with you. She has burned the bridge with her biological mother. One by one, she has destroyed these relationships. And one of the things that the disease of addiction causes these people to do is blame everybody else for their failure. Then they will call you and be like, I can't believe that you're abandoning me. Oh, what kind of father are you? You're the worst person ever. The only reason I even drink is because you did this to me.
And everything that they say to you in that rage
Yes.
is going to be true.
them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's one of the most difficult things that you will hear in that moment.
Yes.
Is all of those things. They're going to say these things and they're going to make sense.
Yes.
And when they make sense, it's going to be terrifying. And we can't give you all these answers, but the people with Al-Anon, your sponsors there, all your friends, the people that you are in meetings with there, they're going to be able to help you through these times in very specific cases that we cannot foresee and we can't help you through on this show.
That's where the support is needed. And like also as life support for you and for your spouse and hopefully also for your ex-wife. Like you are humans going through a unique situation. To be paired with other humans who have survived that is vital. And look, we're not going to sugarcoat this. Whenever we run rehabs, when we meet with families like you, we advise you, we need you to stop supporting this person. We need you to stop covering the freeway in mattresses to protect them bumping into the walls. We need them to go through real life, what we call life on life's terms, because our therapy isn't effective until they feel that embracing that and the difficulty and pain of change is superior to the suffering of not changing. But until that is true for them, they will not give themselves to this work. So ultimately, it's a very hard pill to swallow, but by you pulling back, you are giving us more tools to heal this human. And hopefully the next go around, the next opportunity at rehab, the next treatment, they're ready for it. But it's a really hard thing because, again, I don't want to sugarcoat it. Addiction is a life and death thing. Yes. People get hurt. Yes. People overdose. Yes. People get taken advantage of. People get raped. People get sucked into crime. People live on the streets. It is a disease. It is horrible. It is the worst. And I understand your point that I can't watch my child go through this. One of my mentors at one of the companies Nick and I formerly worked for, a man who I think we both very much respect, he tells a story to families about when he finally decided to get sober. He's now a counselor, but originally he was very, very much addicted to substances. And as he was abusing all these drugs and alcohol, people would come to his father, and this gentleman is Armenian, and they're very, very family-oriented. And people would come to his father, an Armenian immigrant, and say, when are you going to cut off your son? You've got to stop this. You can't let him just keep doing this. You're bailing him out of jail. You know, you're buying him, you're giving him money and he uses it for drugs and alcohol. You're giving him a place to live. You're protecting him from these consequences. You've got to cut him off. And this father, according to my friend and colleague, used to hold up his hand and ask people challenging him, which finger would you have me cut off? Because I can no sooner cut off my finger off my hand than cut off my child. But one day the father finally summoned the courage not to bail his son out of jail. And our colleague tells this story all the time at conferences, that the day he realized he was ready to get help, the day he really made it his own, the day he was done using, he was sitting on the third bunk of a Los Angeles County prison bunk bed, where he was being held because his father would not pay the bail. And he says in his story that he was 1 inch away from a fluorescent light that would not turn off. And as he was staring at it for probably the 12th hour in a row, that was the moment he broke. And he realized, I cannot live this life anymore. I cannot keep coming back here. I've got to get help. And that's when he became willing. But it wasn't until his family allowed him to experience the consequences of his choices that he became aware that there were consequences for his choices, and sought the alternative, which for him was a life of health and ultimately getting into the career and saving other people.
One thing, too, that I'd add to this is that I understand from your perspective, and I hope you understand this, too, is that you're not given a choice between, do I want to eat ice cream or this shit sandwich?
Yeah.
Like this is a very difficult. You've got
It's a shit sandwich or a slightly more appetizing shit sandwich.
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And so you have to understand that you're just in a really shitty situation with two bad choices.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this so difficult. It almost kind of reminds me, I was watching this like self-defense video, and it was this
With Steven Seagal in it?
right.
Oh, those are the best ones.
The only ones. They're only
It's the only one I trust.
Yeah. But this martial arts expert was kind of talking about like, all these self-defense moves and shit. And he was like, okay, if you find yourself in a situation where the other person has a knife,
Yeah.
said number one, you just need to run.
If you can get away,
You get away. That is, you need to do that.
It's going to throw that knife at you because you're
Now,
going to run your ass
And
off.
he said, he said, if you can't and you are in this situation, he said the very first thing you need to do is accept the fact you're going to get cut.
Yeah. Resign yourself
Yes.
to the
Oh, wow.
reality.
Yeah.
That
It's
you're going to
gonna
get
happen.
You're going to get stabbed by that knife.
Yeah, he's like, this is not a Hollywood movie. This, if you go into a fight with somebody with a knife, you're going to get cut.
Yeah.
And you need to accept that right away. And that's kind of how I feel in this situation too, with parents going through this situation, is like, you can't run away, right? That's not on the table. You have to understand that in this situation, you're going to get hurt.
Well, and that's one reason that groups like Al-Anon are so very important to situations like this, because theoretically we can just say you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to let this happen, you have to do these things, and it sounds impossible.
Right.
Yes.
It just sounds like an impossibility that I can let my child have these horrible things happen to them without me going in and saving them like I am able to do. And what Al-Anon does, and what that support group helps you do, is those specific instances where this is going on. What do I do in this moment?
Right.
And that person who has been in that moment before, or maybe in that moment at the same time along with you,
Yes.
they can help you talk through that moment, think through that moment, think bigger picture as opposed to just, how do I get my child out of this scenario right now?
Right.
And it's like Nick said, it is terrible. No matter what you do, it's a really shitty scenario that you and your child are both in. But all you can do now is start to work your way out of it and start to find kind of best case scenario, keeping in mind that the best case scenario is still not going to be great.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's nice to know that you're not in this shitty situation alone.
Yeah.
And that people have made it out of this shitty
Yes.
situation.
Yes,
Yeah.
And
good
it's
point.
important to hear those stories.
People have survived this.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. I mean, we are talking about survival. We're talking about a life and death situation. And I'm really sorry to put it that bluntly, but I mean that is what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for you, and I'm sorry for your child that you're in this scenario.
There's no path where you don't suffer.
No.
That's inevitable.
And there's no path where your child doesn't suffer.
Exactly.
And there's no path where you can take all that suffering from your child onto yourself. You are not able to do it.
They will just keep getting more. But there is a way to accept a path of suffering that leads to the greatest probability of change. But the thing we always warn people is it is in the end a probability. And that is always hard. But Ryder, good luck with this. I really encourage you to get into a support group. You can't do this alone. You're not meant to do this alone. Get that coaching, get that support, get that sponsorship. Work those steps for yourself. It really transformed my life, and I really think it will do a lot of good for you.
Oh, also, you're going to feel embarrassment and shame in this, and it's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's Nick's fault.
It is Nick's fault, plain and simple.
Correct.
Yes.
And if you'd like for Nick to stop doing this to your family, patreon.com/therapy.
You better pay.
Once we get to a threshold, Nick will stop getting your children
I will
hooked on drugs and alcohol.
Yeah,
I
there's
will
a
get
number.
rid of all my voodoo dolls.
Yeah.
Now, there's one last thing I want to point out here.
It's horrible.
One last thing I want to point out.
Worst joke I've ever made on this show.
Really?
I think it might be.
Man, that's a deep bench.
I think it might
that's
be.
a really deep bench.
Nick is causing your children to get hooked on drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
That might be.
It's pretty dark.
I don't know. Now, one last thing, and this is going to go a little bit off point, but I just kind of want to point it out to you and to anybody else who's listening. One of the things that you said is that your daughter has been to rehab 2 to 3 times. Now, I know this is useful information. I appreciate that you sharing with us. But one thing that I would like to kind of let you know and let the rest of the audience know is that that's not a bad thing.
Good point.
And a lot of times I hear a lot of people say like, oh my God, so-and-so, they had to go to rehab 5 times. And they talk about it as though that's a derogatory thing. I don't care if they go to rehab 1 time, 0 times, or 10 times.
Right.
It doesn't matter, because one thing that I think is really important is that sometimes people feel like if you go to rehab and then you end up having to go back, that you've somehow failed or that rehab didn't work.
No.
And that's not the case at all.
Right.
You learn something every time you go. You know,
Yes.
I didn't take 1 golf lesson. You know, I took several.
Right.
Still taking them.
Right.
And so like, it's the same thing. It's there as a resource. So, whatever gets us to success gets us there. It doesn't matter how many times we do it.
And also, success is a pretty low bar, because success is surviving.
Yes.
Success is just getting to the next day. Going to rehab for the 3rd time means that you have beaten the odds 3 times.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're getting there for a 3rd time and taking yet another swing at it.
Yeah.
Yes,
and that's something that's a conversation I had to have with all my clients when they would ever come back.
Yeah.
If they would complete successfully, they leave for several months to a year, 2 years, and then they come back, they always come back with that shame and that guilt. And I have to say, why are you upset? Like, that we should be happy. Like, you're back. You're
here.
You came back.
We're still taking swings.
Yeah, exactly.
We're still trying to beat this thing.
That's what we care
We
about.
haven't given up. We haven't died. We haven't acquiesced to this.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are still doing the work to make life better. And that's all we can do.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was always my philosophy working with adolescents too. Is I would always tell my clinical staff when we were working with kids, like, just remind them what our goal is. Our goal is not that these kids are going to be clean and sober for the rest of their lives. Our goal is that they establish a good enough relationship with us that in the future, if they need us, they'll come back.
Yes.
That's what we want. Because the amount of time from returning to use to seeking help, the longer that time is, the more deadly the disease is.
Right.
So if we can cut down that time to where they feel like, oh my God, I fucked up, I want to go back.
Yes.
If that's a matter of days, that's success.
Huge.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. Last thought
So
from
anyway.
me, Ryder. Don't forget there's also these alternatives where you don't have to pick between the 2 barbells of, like, on one end, I take you back into my home and we deal with your chaos, or on the other end, we abandon you to the streets of wherever the boyfriend lives. The middle ground is sometimes creating some kind of expectation of like, look, you're between a rock and a hard place. Your only option now is, yes, we will let you move back to our state. You are checking into this sober living program. You will test clean in order to continue living there. And if you fail out of there, you will join a homeless shelter and that's your deal, but you're not living with us. So sometimes you can use these extreme situations to corral this person into a middle ground that otherwise they wouldn't really accept, because they'd say, no, I'm just going to live with you, blah, blah, blah. I don't like these people. They're in a cult, whatever nonsense they come up with. You can use these extreme things to kind of push them toward help. And sometimes it doesn't have to be full-blown rehab. It could just be a sober living program, something where they stabilize. So, or that they're just going to attend outpatient therapy. And you say, yeah, you can live here. We're going to put you in a sober living. And the only way I will pay that rent is if you are also attending outpatient therapy and I get attendance records. Refer to question number 1 of this week's episode to hear how to do that. So lots of options here. But again, this is an opportunity, but definitely something you need to be supported on. As we wrap up the show, we want to remind you can sign up at patreon.com/therapy. You can get the extended show ad-free a day early, as well as enjoy our live chat Discord community and our weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research, roundups, and rants. This week, Nick, you have launched a whole new series.
I have.
What a great idea. Tell us about the new series.
So this is Get to Know a Theraproducer.
I love it.
So every week every week that it's my turn, I'm going to be putting out an episode of an interview I've done with a theraproducer and or therapartner.
If you can get one, good luck. Those are gets.
I got one already in the books.
Shit.
And so the idea behind this is that everybody is it's a little short introduction of, hi, my name is so-and-so, and this is how it came about. This is how I found the show, and this is why I support it. And then they get 6 thought-provoking questions that they do not have in advance.
Oh, I like this.
So all of these questions are very deep, philosophical, and it'll make you think. And the idea behind this is that we all get to meet all of these people who support the show.
I love it.
And we get to kind of hear some of their philosophy and intake or input on some of these big,
great idea,
life questions.
So week 1 of this new series, you kicked it off with longtime support of the show and former therapartner, Myra.
Yes.
And that is live now as you're hearing this week's episode. You can go to patreon.com/therapy. At the $5 level, you get access to our entire back catalog, which is now several years of content filled with commentary, research, skills, breakdowns, interviews with experts. It is a library.
So on that note, too, to all of our theraproducers and therapartners that are listening, you don't have to participate. I would love you to, but it is voluntary. If you are willing to do this, please reach out to me. You can either message me, DM me on Discord, or you can email me at the PodTherapy email address, or you could email me my Mental Fit Personal Training, nick@mentalfitpersonaltraining.com. Email me there and we'll get something in the books.
So Jake Schneider already let you know that he refuses except to be interviewed on the main show.
So far, that's what, so far.
You can wear him down.
I will wear him down.
The trick with Jake, I know, let me tell you how to get to Jake. You just wait until he's got about 1.5 glasses of bourbon in him, and he'll do whatever the fuck you want. You can jump on the Discord chat and he'll just be like, what's going on, man?
Yeah,
he'll play poker. Like, he'll just do anything.
Yeah, Thunder's trying to get out of it too, but
stay on him.
See.
Yeah.
You get
glass
that
and a half of bourbon in him. Gets flowing.
Then you can put whatever you want in him. So yeah, check that out. And then next week, I've got a new piece rolling out, which is a research deep dive into the recent FDA rejection of MDMA therapy or medicine for PTSD. So that's hot off the press, deep dive into the history of it and kind of what the news is surrounding this and why it was rejected by the FDA and a lot of my hot takes on it. So check that out. But speaking of Patreon, we've got some new friends who've joined the Theraparty. Who's new to Patreon this week, Nick?
Welcome to Han Win. Thank you for joining. And Erie Sarah.
welcome. Love having you. And we'd like to thank the benevolent, revered, generous, and flagrantly pro-therapy diehards who love you all so much they give till it hurts. The Thera partners, thank you, Dirty B and Pickett. And we want to especially thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of our fan club, the Thera producers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Myra, Robert Brownie Jr. Mitt, Smitty Scoop, Ben Don, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Malia, Leon Kassab, Mason Miller, Richard fucking Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley slapping your face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, Mike Helm, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib Team, Monaco, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar, Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, Slurpy Kai, Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, Hannah Marie, Andrew Langmead, and Emma Kane.
If you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy, and thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time we got for this week's session. I want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast. And thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share the episode with the world. Tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter. It's /PodTherapy on Facebook. And don't forget about all the extra goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Whitney. And I'm Jim.
Thanks, and we'll see you for an appointment next week.
Oh, we need some more trivia, man. People.